The bookies still have Poch as the favourite, actually, but a lot of the back pages this morning are saying that Erik ten Hag is the favourite or is the front runner at the moment for Manchester United. Darren, do you think that United will improve under a manager like that?
I guess it's still a risk. They've got to be better than they are because there's a sense of direction, and I think whoever they employ has got to be there for the kind of the long haul. It can't be another quick fix. You can't put a plaster on a break. You've got to, at some stage, give the manager time to kind of build. They gave it to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, to be fair to them, got them to a final, finished second, but didn't get them over the line. I'm used to Manchester United winning things, and currently right now they're not doing that. So if it's Ten Hag or Pochettino, whoever it may be, if they've got to start from scratch, they can't automatically think they've got the God-given right to go straight back into where they once were, which is one of their teams competing for the Premier League. I think they're miles off of that. But whoever goes in there next has got a big job in his hand. It's a rebuild, and you've got to give him time. You can't expect immediate success. I don't care how big the club is. Right on this day, Manchester United are way behind Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City. They've got to catch them first before they can even think about potentially winning the Premier League again.
Ali, when you compare... Because earlier on we were talking about Thomas Tuchel, right? So it was Jamie Carragher that wrote an article and said, look, Manchester United should do everything they can to go and get Thomas Tuchel. If you were Thomas Tuchel and you know that your name is being thrown about for the Manchester United job, take away all the contract situation, would a Manchester United move be, in his eyes, a step up or a step down?
Oh...
And I mean that with the name of Manchester United in there as well. What makes it more attractive?
The size of the club. I mean, Manchester United and Real Madrid are the two biggest clubs in the world for me. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the most successful, because both of them aren't at this moment in time. So the only reason Tuchel would leave Chelsea would be the incentive of the opportunity to go to Manchester United and maybe build your own team. He'd have to have some unbelievable reassurances to do that, I would think, because they are way off at this moment in time. I think they have to total revamp of the squad, because even as poorly as they are playing Benty, I don't think there's enough improvement in that squad, even by adding a couple of players to make them challenge the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City on a consistent basis. So, and I know I keep saying it, and they won't thank me for saying it, it took Liverpool 30 odd years and they were still winning cups in between that. I'm not saying it's going to take Man United 30 years to win the league championship again. However, you don't want to get sucked into a situation where it goes on and on and on. It becomes a real issue. I think, and as I said earlier, Benty, I said to Woodsy at 6 o'clock, I'm looking at Arsenal, and at least they look as though they've got a structure and a plan in front of them. It's now time for Manchester United to get that. I mean, they really have, because they're in danger of slipping further and further behind, and that would be a disaster for them.
Do you know, in terms of kind of a job, and Manchester United, I'm with you, Ali, I think them and Real Madrid, Barcelona, they are the biggest clubs in the world. But from strictly from a job perspective and where the clubs are right now, him leaving Chelsea at this current state would have to be a backstep down to Manchester United, because Chelsea, at least they're a lot further along the road. They've obviously won the Champions League last season. I know they're third and they're a little bit behind Liverpool, Manchester City. But as we spoke about, there's an argument they could have won the League Cup against Liverpool, so that could have been another trophy.
Absolutely.
They're there in the semi-final against Palace. They're still in the Champions League.
Yeah.
They're right now currently on the pitch. Chelsea are where Manchester United want to be. So for me, Thomas Tuchel, it would be a step backwards. You'd have to be, not maybe the size of the club. Yeah, of course, I get that, massive club. But right now, in terms of the teams that they've got on the pitch, Manchester United would be a step backwards for Thomas Tuchel.
The first thing that Chelsea's new owners do when they buy the club and they get in, I think the first thing they do is sort Tuchel out. Because I said earlier, Benty, the one thing that I think Abramovich has been great for Chelsea, I really, really do. But the one thing that he has been, he's been pretty unstable. His managers, in terms of, what's every 2 years the coaches change and that's it. And they've done exceptionally well, I think, to remain successful in that period. So I don't think the new people that will come in will be worse than Abramovich in terms of giving managers time. I would think they'd automatically be better. And I think the first thing that they would do, they look at Tuchel and say, right, you're here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to read you Gary Neville's tweet on social media across the weekend. Caused a bit of a stir. This is what he had to say about Manchester United players. He said, I remember a time when United players, managers, executives wouldn't be seen in their local Italian after a draw at home, let alone getting knocked out of Europe. This last week, we've seen a global tour of F1 concerts, cricket and UFC events. This lot are tone deaf. Now, Danny Murphy won 5 trophies at Liverpool. He was alongside Jim White and Simon Jordan yesterday in the studio. Here's what he made of the comments.
It was worse going on back then. He just didn't have the same highlight and magnifying glass on it. When Liverpool winning league titles constantly through the 80s, the same philosophy went from the 80s to the 90s where United were winning it. And the early 2000s when United were winning it, they were still out celebrating, doing the night, going for meals, having a bevy. They were. Some of those lads I know well. And they weren't on social media being pictured everywhere. Now, they might not have been flying off to F1 meets or they might not have been in Dubai, but they were still out socialising, doing things.
Okay, there you go. Danny Murphy would know, and I'm sure you mentioned this earlier on, Ellie McCoy. It's a case of like maybe if you don't get caught, no one knows. I imagine that there were people out, especially in that era. I imagine they had a back entrance way of getting into nightclubs without getting seen and all sorts. They had the keys to the city, didn't they? Darren, do you think that after something like this happens, you get knocked out of Europe, does that mean you've got to stay out the limelight, stay in your house, not get seen anywhere?
No, I mean, because I'm one of them, and I get it, what Gary's saying, but it's different generations, it's a different era now. The footballers are built differently now than they were back then. Social media, as you said, is a big thing, but it doesn't show that you care any less if you go out and have a meal with your family or whoever you're going out for a meal with, or whatever you do to kind of get past the mood of losing a game, drawing a game at home, or whatever Gary said. So I haven't really got an issue with it. I know from an outside perspective, people expect you to kind of just mourn and be like, oh, miserable because you've lost, but that's not just how football is nowadays. The game's completely changed from obviously when Gary's playing. Their footballers are different. Their mentalities are completely different. And as I'm saying, by them going out for a meal or whatever they're deciding to do, go and watch F1, whatever, that doesn't take away the fact that it doesn't hurt them as much. They probably still are hurting, but at the end of the day, if that's what they choose to do, then that's what they choose to do.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.